Hey guys, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good, good. Congratulations on the show. I watched a couple of episodes, not all of it yet, because I'm kind of pacing myself, and I'm just finding it so exciting. Dimitri,
Great.
I'm going to start with you. And what was it like getting involved in this and getting that call to say you're part of this absolutely massive show?
It was amazing. The process was one of like I got sent some scenes to read with a sort of brief of what the show was. I initially actually read for 10 acts and thought it was a wicked part and um really wanted it. So I sent these scenes off and heard back from Roland and the team, and they said, "Look, we really like your take, but we think you might be better for another role, the part of Scorpus." And initially I was gutted because I thought, oh man, that 10x role, this sort of gangster in Rome.
Mm.
But then I read the Scorpus side and saw, he's just this wild sort of rock star of Rome, and I thought this is actually a lot of fun. Um, so sent those tapes off, and then had a few chats with Roland over Zoom, and then yeah, was just completely thrilled to be part of it. And yeah, excited to be thrown into the Roland sort of world of ancient Rome. It was a great experience.
I suppose same question to you, Emilio. What was it like getting this? I mean, as a young actor, it's something you dream of to be part of such a massive cast, I guess.
It's definitely a dream come true. Definitely. I came in pretty late, so the others had a lot of time to rehearse and prepare, and I was late to the party.
Zenon turned up late.
That's something. But it was just so yeah, it was like a dream come true. Especially coming to Rome. So the first day I came to the it was in the desert, I think. They built a Circus Maximus there to have the rehearsals with the charities.
That's
And it
right.
was so mind blowing to see what they built. And to meet everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. Dimitri, what was it about your role that you sort of made you want to look more into what he would have done in that because they're all basically based on real people who
Yeah.
lived 2,000 years ago. Was that an incentive for you to sort of go back and read up on what those people did and how they interacted with each other?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there isn't a whole lot of stuff on Scorpus, but as you say, he was a real person. He this won an insane amount of chariot races in his life, and there's a famous Roman poet called Martial who wrote a few poems that included Scorpus. So reading those was kind of really cool. He sort of he says about him that God on realizing how many races Scorpus won would have mistaken him for an old man because of the list of and um and took him at a young age. So yeah, I'm that stuff is really nice to find these little connections, and then also bearing in mind what Roland wanted, which was this quite distinct flavor of Scorpus, which is like he is this sort of rock star, this celebrity, this sort of sports star celebrity. Um, so I ended up listening to this 300-hour podcast called The History of Rome that my friend had been recommending for years prior to me doing the show. And I was working my way through that really slowly. I suggested it to Iwan, and within 3 weeks he had listened to it 3 times or something, like
Yeah.
hundreds of hours of this podcast, and he was just obsessed with it. But yeah, there was plenty of other things I tried to immerse myself into. And then also just discussions with Roland about his take on it.
Emilio, did getting sort of immersed within this character make you want to go back and sort of read up on Rome and what your character, that kind of character would have done, or how he would have behaved in those circumstances?
Well, I think first of all, when I got the part, the character Xenon didn't have so many layers, so we just created them then, especially the part which I think is the most important one, that he's actually in love with Scorpus, which
How
gives it
could he not be?
so yeah, it is. I love this fact because it changes so many
Yeah,
things,
yeah.
especially when I see him whoring around, and yeah. So, and I loved that we digged so deep because it was a pretty flat character at the beginning, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a
And
lot of fun.
were you like Dimitri? Did you go back and sort of read up and like listen to podcasts or want to know more about the lives of those people?
I wish I would. I wish I would, but I came in so late to the party. I came in so late that I didn't have the time to do it as much as the other did it. But yes, of course, we had a lot of conversations about it, and I tried to, how do you say when you try? I tried to catch up. Tried to catch up. It was hard though. It was pretty hard, especially for me because I flew in and out so many times. So I always felt like, okay, I'm gone for a month, and I'll come back. Everyone made so many more experiences, right? And it was tough to stay in the world.
Dimitri, you have quite a bit of acting space with you, and those two characters are almost like sort of they are the same side of the two different sides of the same person. How was it sort of working with him on those two characters, and what was it like, the experience on set really with him?
It was great. I've actually worked with Iwan before, and we played brothers in something. So we kind of had a lot of stuff. You know, we knew each other. We'd spent time together, and so I know how Iwan works, and I was just curious to see what he was going to do with it. And my feeling about Tenax and Scorpus was like, they obviously knew each other when they were younger and had some sort of plan to pull themselves out of poverty. And Tenax had this ambition that sort of far succeeded what I think Scorpus thought was possible. And so they sort of start to divulge from the plan a little bit. And I think what we see as the series continues is there's this sort of growing wedge between the two of them that feels sort of sad in a way, because they're almost like brothers. They're like brothers and business partners and best mates almost. And then their relationship has become something slightly different, where there's a sort of manager superstar sort of quality between the two of them. And then that ends up feeding this sort of growing tension. And so there's this sense of like, if only somehow their friendship held on a bit longer, the two of them could have had everything. But I love working with Iwan. He's a great actor. He's extremely hardworking, and I think we just had fun playing with those characters and trying to keep it fresh for the other person, always trying to do something to evoke something else and see how far we could play with those things.
Was it how exciting was it, Emilio? Both of you actually the same question. What was it like working with Roland Emmerich and knowing all that baggage he had behind him, like all that sort of work he's done in Hollywood over the last God knows how many decades? Was it exciting to be in his presence and just give him some sort of ideas or explain to him what your character would do?
He was always very clear with what he wanted, and he gave us a lot of trust, I think, or that's how I would say, because we didn't really get a lot of feedback unless he wanted us to change something. And yeah, I liked working with him.
Roland's like, he's got these two sides to him. One is really sort of childlike and fun, where he's super excited on set and he's giggling and he's like clapping. And then if it's not quite what he wants, he's really demanding. It's like, it was Johannes, who plays Vigo, had this story where they'd been waiting all day to shoot this scene, this fight scene with Mo, and it was outside, and so they were trying to get the right amount of smoke. Roland wanted this very specific amount of smoke, and the wind kept sort of blowing it away, and Roland was just sort of furious because somehow, with the Roland Emmerich production, they still weren't able to control the weather yet. And so it was like, why can't we get the smoke right? It's like, the wind is, what can we do? But he's great. He's like a sort of tyrant when he needs to be, which is all good directors, I think, have to have that in the back pocket, and then completely childlike and fun to be around. And outside of it, he's wonderful. We went to many dinners and he's
wonderful.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys.
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey, you guys.
Hey